All right, we are good to go. Go ahead and say hi to Arrow so he knows he has you.
Hi, Eros. How you doing?
How are you doing, Doctor?
I'm doing fantastic. If it's a morning and talking sharks, it's a good day.
You know what? I got to tell you something. Let's start off with that very, very subject right there, because what you're proving to us and what you're showing us on Sharkfest is the fact that this planet doesn't just belong to the human being. You are going to take us into worlds that we have got to love and respect even more, and hopefully we can fall more deeply in love with this planet.
Yeah, it's one of those exciting things is the age of exploration is still here. There are places like the oceans we know so little about, and there are these amazing animals there. And Sharkfest takes us into that world, and hopefully we're able to inspire people to protect these amazing animals and the important oceans.
I'm not going to lie to you, Doctor. My big screen TV is huge. When I watch Sharkfest, I feel like I'm in my own personal aquarium. And the way that you guys share a story, you really you have your attention not only on the shark but also the person that's watching.
Well, I think when you're working with sharks, you always have to be paying attention in the moment. And I think that comes through in the shows, right? I mean, you don't need to make anything up to have a super exciting show. And that's the great thing about Sharkfest is we bring the latest, greatest science, the excitement of what we do. And, hopefully we're sparking some curiosity, the world around people, and they get interested in sharks and even their own backyard.
Listeners need to understand that Sharkfest is on National Geographic. It's on Disney Plus. It's on Hulu. I mean, you guys are everywhere.
Yeah, it's awesome. The streamers let us bring shark content all year round. And this month we get all these new shows out. And this year for me was just spectacular because I got to do things I hadn't ever done before. And one of them that I was super excited about was working with Ross Edgley, who is this extreme athlete. He swam around the entire British Isles. So this guy's intense, but he'd never seen big sharks. We were able to get him out there and compare his body and his amazing abilities to those of sharks. And so, I got to do new things, meet new people, and then share that excitement with people around the world on just about, whatever outlet you prefer.
Doctor, there's been a lot of talk lately, and I don't know if it's clickbait or not, but they're saying that these glaciers are melting so quickly that it's changing the core of the planet. That means it's also affecting the shark. What are you seeing beneath the water?
Well, oceans are getting a lot of pressure. We've got these glaciers melting, fresh water is coming in, and especially temperature is going up, and the acid levels in oceans are also increasing, and that can disrupt food chains. And sharks are kind of like people; they've got their range of temperatures they really like. So as ocean temperatures change, the sharks are shifting where they are, and that can disrupt the dynamics and bring sharks into contact with different animals, and in some cases, people. And so it's really important that we understand, how these sharks are moving around so that we can protect oceans and make sure we have lots of sharks in oceans, healthy ocean ecosystems, and people are still able to use the oceans the way they want to.
You talk about fresh water. Does that mean that eventually the shark will evolve through evolution in the way of maybe swimming up the Mississippi River?
Well, we don't have to wait for evolution to have sharks being able to swim up the Mississippi River because bull sharks are one of these amazing species. They can live in saltwater or freshwater. And in fact, they've been found up the Mississippi, almost to, Illinois, and, a couple thousand miles up the Amazon River. So there are sharks that can get into freshwater. But, we're not worried about the oceans becoming entirely freshwater. But as those glaciers come in, it kind of changes the density and can change some of the currents that are going on. And that really affects sharks as well. So, fresh waters, most of the places you're not going to have sharks, but in kind of coastal rivers, especially in the warmer areas like Florida up through Texas, you'll have especially baby bull sharks in those areas.
How did you react when you found out about this great white shark that's this nursery off New York City? I mean, I've never heard of this before, but we're going to learn about it on Sharkfest.
Yeah, this is a fantastic show and really shows that we can have successful conservation. I mean, white sharks were in super big trouble. Their populations had just been nearly wiped out. But after some protections, they're starting to come back. And now there are enough of them out there that we could find this nursery for white sharks off New York. And I think that shows that with the right efforts, we can balance, having healthy oceans with plenty of sharks in them and humans still getting the resources and enjoyment they need out of the oceans. And so I hope people tune in because, that's a fantastic show and really shows the successes we can have in rebuilding ocean ecosystems.
For us, the shark is the boogeyman. For you, it's something that you can explore. But my thing is, we also have to think that sharks are also business. How the heck are you keeping up with technology? That stuff has got to be through the roof expensive.
Well, it ain't cheap, but the thing is, technology's always been a part of what we do, and this is the cool thing. People want cell phones with smaller cameras, batteries that last longer, the ability to track their position. All that ends up in the tools and technology we use to learn more about sharks. And as we're able to get these instruments on sharks, video cameras in the water, we just learn so much more about these animals. And so it's expensive. But, it's really worth the investment because we can learn so much more about these animals. But at the same time, tech isn't the only answer. And we need people on the water and in the water doing their work and observing these animals. And I think that's what Sharkfest shows and really, inspires people as well to see people in there. And I got into this business because I saw people exploring when I was a kid. I saw Jacques Cousteau, Sylvia Earle, and I wanted to do that.
Wow. See, you went to the ocean. I went to the farm. A farm in the way of a tree farm. I love my forest. I love getting my hands dirty in this forest. And if it's a bug, I'm going to learn about it.
Well, that's the cool thing. I mean, no matter what your passion is, it's an amazing world out there. And there's so much that you can explore, whether it's your backyard, up in the mountains, out in the oceans. And, I hope that when people watch Sharkfest, that bit of curiosity about the natural world is sparked and, people get outside and have a look around at the amazing things that are out there.
Is there such a thing as a nice shark?
Well, this is a cool thing we're finding out about sharks is that they actually have personalities. And so even within those baby bull sharks, you've got some bolder individuals, some shyer individuals, and there's some species that are more or less aggressive. I mean, I'm not sure I'd say they are nice sharks, but some of these animals that are used to people in places where there's ecotourism, they get to know those people and you see them interact with them in a way that looks a little bit more like, animals that are used to people. And so, it's incredible how complex these animals can be behaviorally. And, they may even have some semblance of a social life there. So as we learn more about them, we find out they're even more amazing than we thought.
Because I've learned to love all living things, I don't do the fishing piers anymore because when the shark comes on shore, they kill it immediately. And it's just, I hate it. Are we doing a disservice to the community of the water by fishing and catching these things and then destroying the sharks?
Well, yeah, look, I'm not a fan of catching and killing sharks, and really we shouldn't be doing that. There are some places where we rely on sharks, and those are areas where sustainable fisheries are possible. But just killing sharks to kill them is not something we should do. They can be really important to maintaining the health of ocean ecosystems. So if we want healthy oceans, we want healthy shark populations there. So just killing them to kill them is really not something we should be doing.
Once again, we're talking about Sharkfest on National Geographic, Disney Plus, and Hulu, because I almost feel like that you guys are really, really getting some good information.
Yeah, the drones are fantastic. People usually think about drones flying in the air, and those help us a bit. But we're also starting to develop drones that go underwater. And, those underwater drones, surface boat drones, those let us get so much more information than we ever used to get, put cameras and eyes in the water and overhead. So it's really given us some cool insights to these animals. And I think the thing is that as technology expands, it's a lot more tools in the toolbox to use to get into the lives of these animals and more ways to share that excitement with people on Sharkfest.
Do you feel like a kid in a candy store or a bull in a china shop?
Well, I feel like a kid in a candy store. I'm sure other people would say I look like a bull in a china shop. But there's a reason I'm not in the organic chemistry lab. I break too much glassware. I'm too, my hands are flying everywhere. But I think that excitement, I've been doing this for more than 20 years. And every time I go out and get to work with sharks, it's just as exciting as the last time. And, it's a real privilege to be able to learn about these animals, interact with them, explore, and then especially to share it with everybody on Sharkfest.
Wow. Where can people go to find out more? Because, we're going to have these 4 weeks of Sharkfest, and then it's going to be like, okay, I got to have more. Give me more input.
Well, you go to Disney Plus, Hulu, you can get years worth of shark shows there. And we've done lots of great ones that are so exciting. But then there's a lot of information on the web at National Geographic. And I hope people get on there and explore.
Please come back to this show anytime in the future, Doctor. The door is always going to be open for you.
Thanks so much for having me.
Well, you be brilliant today, okay?
I'll do my best. You too.
Thank you, sir. Hello and good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you?
Absolutely fantastic. Very excited to talk with you because I think that you're an insight to a lot of questions that are being asked, but people aren't finding answers.
Okay.
Let's start off with your website because I know that you're going to reveal some things here and people are going to go, where can I get this information? It can't be just on a podcast.
So my website is alternativewealthstrategies.com.
Very simple. Very simple. Now, when you use the word alternative, I looked that up, and that's another possibility. That is somebody who doesn't play by the old rules. You are bringing something new to this game.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things that, I'm trying to help people with is that there's so little financial education out there and people just go with the status quo. Put your money in a 401k, pay off your mortgage. And there's so much more that you can do. And those two things are not ideally going to help you build the wealth that you need when you get to it. And with all the money supply being increased during COVID, things are going to be higher in the future. So it makes more sense to find a different place to put your money and pay the taxes on it now so that you don't have to pay it.
I'm hearing a lot of commercials about that, about how when the tax bill comes in, it's going to affect your 401k.
No, it's very true. It's very true. A lot of people don't realize during COVID, they increased the money supply by 40%. That's huge. And eventually the tax bill is going to come due and we're the ones that are going to have to pay it.
Yeah. How are they doing days? I mean, because you're with these people one-on-one. Are they doing okay?
It's across the board. If people are willing to get educated and make some changes, they'll be doing okay. But a lot of people are so brainwashed into, mainstream, look at different strategies. And that's kind of my goal. When I work with someone, I try to educate them. I'm an educator more than anything. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not a financial planner. I'm just somebody that figured this stuff out for myself and feel that the world needs to know about it, or at least all Americans.
You know what? You're absolutely right about that because we just throw that money higher at a wedding. Oh, you're going to make my cake. I'll see you the week, I guess, of my wedding. And you never hear from them. So I mean, you physically get involved with people?
Yeah, I help them to, it's really important. A lot of people don't even know where they are.
Right.
So we want to know over the years. A lot of people, they change jobs. They've got this 401k, that 401k. They've got CDs stuck in the drawer. They don't know what they have. So that's really the first step is for somebody to figure out what they have. And it takes a little bit of time. It's not a quick and easy process. But from there, then we can talk about what their goals are, what it is they're wanting to accomplish. Some people are married with children and grandchildren and they want to leave a legacy. Some people are single and have no kids and they want to spend all their money before they die.
Yep.
It just depends on what their goals are. And once we figure that out, then we can start looking at the different strategies that'll help them get to where they want to go and be able to enjoy their retirement.
It scares me, these 20 to 30-year-olds who do not have a 401k plan or they're not even thinking about their future when it comes to finances. I mean, come on, 50 and 60 will be here before you even know it.
Well, think back, though. When you and I were in our 20s, were we thinking about retirement?
It was offered, but I still didn't jump onto it until I think in my mid to late 30s.
I was the same. Absolutely. I was the same. But and the thing is that just the education part, we do a webinar starting next week. We're going to be doing a webinar every Thursday evening where people can learn about these different strategies. No obligation, just get on and educate yourself.
Now, listeners need to understand that you yourself looked at yourself in the mirror one day and said, I got to get in control of my own money. And in doing so, that meant that you had an outreach, that you were reaching out to help others as well.
Well, when I first started, it was just for my own knowledge.
Yeah.
I wanted to figure out where my financial planner had told me to put my money. What was my money doing? What were the fees that I was being charged for the people that were taking care of my money? I really had to do some digging and figure it out. And when I saw the fees, I was like, oh my gosh, no, you can't have that much of my money. So I made some changes, and along the way I discovered a lot of these different alternative strategies that I want to share with people.
What do you say to that employee that says, oh man, I'm at retirement age, early retirement, I'm going to take it, and then they realize they can't work as many hours at an essential job as they used to? That's affecting their bottom line.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, think about it. How would you be impacted if you lost your job and didn't have a job for a year? That would impact you. Well, if you in that situation for 30 years, that's really going to impact you. And that's what retirement is. People are living a lot longer. So it's important to start strategizing before you get there. But if you're already there, we still have tools that can help you.
I remember sitting down with Danny Fontana, who was one of these big financial gurus here in Charlotte. I remember telling him, and this is how uneducated I was, I said, dude, what you're doing is nothing more than gambling. That man had fire in his eyes, because it's more than gambling. It's about winning in your future.
That's right. That's right.
Wow. But how do you convince the naysayer?
You don't.
Okay.
You can't convince, I'm a true believer. You can't say the wrong thing to the right person or the right thing to the wrong person. Some people, they just don't want to listen to it. They'd rather listen to their broke brother-in-law than somebody that knows what they're talking.
A subject that came up recently that kind of blew me away. Once again, completely uneducated. All of these students want their loans paid off, but someone said, but what they're not realizing is that they'll pay off your loan, but you're going to pay the taxes on the money you just got to pay off that loan. Is that true?
Yes, that is very true.
You're kidding me.
If a loan is forgiven, it is treated as taxable income.
Oh, my God. See, I didn't know that. They don't talk about that, Heidi.
No. And we have a program that actually we work with people that have student loan debt over $100,000, where we can get their monthly payments either totally eliminated or reduced, and set them up in a way that when the time comes that they do have to pay it, because they will have to pay it, but we can get it postponed, set them up in a way that when it comes time to pay it, that they've got access to money that they can use to pay it. And so they can take that monthly payment and put it towards other wealth building strategies.
Another thing that I'm seeing, Heidi, is that people that do have their loans paid off, they're taking the money and they're giving it to other people who have loans, but I guarantee you they're not reporting that money. I mean, I don't want anybody to go to prison because of something so simple as paying it forward.
I don't know anything about that.
Oh, okay. I won't talk about it then.
We have a program that helps, like a lot of professionals, like dentists, chiropractors, doctors, physical therapists. They have huge student loan debt, and therefore they have a huge student loan payment.
Yeah.
And so we can show them a way to get that payment eliminated or substantially reduced, and then they can use that money to start building wealth. So when the time comes that they do have to pay off the loan, they've got the money to pay it.
How important is an IRA versus the stock market?
Well, it kind of depends on the IRA, because, I mean, like, if your IRA is tied to the stock market, there's no difference. But if you have what they call a self-directed IRA, you can take that money and put it where you want to put it. So that was one of the things that I did. I put some of my money into a self-directed IRA, and then I put that money into land deals that are not tied to the stock market that were going to double my money in 3 years.
Man, see.
So that was, it depends on what the IRA is the answer to the question.
Right. So, I mean, and this is part of what you do as an alternative strategist, is the fact that you're living this. You go through the same experiences. You're not somebody who is sitting there reading a book in class and then, okay, I'm going to go put this together in somebody else's life. I mean, you have lived what you were speaking.
Exactly.
All right, here's the big fire starter inside this household. My wife wants to pay off the house. I'm going, no, that's a real source of basically credit. Who's right in this picture?
There's nothing wrong with paying off your house if you do it in a way that allows you to build wealth.
Okay.
At the same time, which is another program that we have that gets you to pay off your house in about a third of the time. So if you've got a 30-year mortgage, you could get it paid off in about 10 years and save a couple of $100,000 worth of.
Wow. See, and once again, you don't read about this in areas, and if you do, it's usually just clickbait on a website and they're trying to sell you something. But we need that honesty.
Right, and the program that we have, we actually run your numbers for you. And the program, all it's doing is telling you what to do with your money. It doesn't touch your money. It doesn't take your Social Security. It doesn't take your, your account numbers, anything. It just runs your numbers. We do a free financial analysis for them that actually, if you put everything in, including, all your expenses, all your bills, everything, it'll give you the exact date that you would be debt-free, paying off your home and all of your credit cards, your car loans, everything.
Speaking of that, speaking of that Social Security, I mean, I swear my entire life, all I've ever heard of is this president is going to get rid of your Social Security. It hasn't happened yet, but is it? I mean, is there a way around this to where we don't have to become so dependent on what we have put in?
Again, it has to do with what you do with the other stuff.
Okay.
Because you can't get away from putting it in. And who knows what's going to happen in the future. That's like trying to, predict what the stock market's going to do. I don't think it's going to go away, at least not anytime soon. But that doesn't mean that that's just what you sit and wait for. There are other strategies that you can put in place in case that does go away. And a lot of people don't realize that Social Security is also taxable. So I help my clients get set up in a way that when the tax bill comes, you've got access to funds where you're not having to pay that tax bill out of your own pocket.
See, that's where I am in the way that, I don't know where I learned this along the way, but it's almost like I have so many safety nets around me, and some people look at me saying, why don't you just have it in one? No, I need safety nets. And is that wrong?
No, that's not wrong. You should, the old adage, don't put your eggs all in one basket.
Yeah.
And another thing I will say to people is when we go and run their numbers and we look at like where they are putting money, if you're putting money into, back to the 401k thing, if you're putting money into your 401k, you want to make sure that you're only putting up to the amount that they match.
Yeah.
Because
exactly.
That's free money. You want to do that. But if they're not matching you, let's find another place to put that money that'll benefit you more.
Taking a look at what's going on the essential job front, I often wonder, is retirement still the American dream?
Oh, yeah.
It is.
Oh, yeah. It is. But a lot of people, I will tell you, because we're of medical science, medical miracles, we're living a lot longer. So people aren't necessarily retiring at 65.
Yeah.
I'm one of them. I'm getting close, and I don't plan on, I got another 30 or 40 years in me. I want to keep being productive and helping people.
I'm so with you with that because I need my people. I need to socialize. I need to hear stories. I need to know who my community is, and it's right there in front of us. We just got to reach out there and get it.
That's right, and don't be afraid to ask for help. I know a lot of people that are afraid to talk to a financial advisor, and I'm not saying that you need to or don't need to, but at least educate yourself. If nothing else, come to our Thursday night webinar and learn about some tools that you may not know about.
All right, where can they go for that webinar? Let's really brand that inside their mind.
Well, starting next Thursday, it's every Thursday night at 7:30, and if they go to my website, there's a link to register.
And that website is?
AlternativeWealthStrategies.com.
So simple, so simple. You have done your homework well.
Yeah, and it just makes me so sad when I see somebody run out of money in retirement and they've got to go back to work. At 85 years old, or they become a burden on their family, or they become destitute.
And I think every family is dealing with that because, you sit there and you go, wow, if we would not have lent a helping hand here, they would be homeless. They would not have what they once had. And people tend to accept that. It's like, no, that's unacceptable. You need to grow forward with your finances.
Right. And there are a lot of people that don't even look at their, like if they have a 401k statement, they don't even look at the statement when it comes because they're afraid to.
Yeah.
Things are going well right now, but back during 2008, it's just crazy.
Well, I'll tell you, Heidi, I got to tell you one of the reasons that kept me from looking at it is that my very first financial man said, stop watching the numbers. You're thinking about the future, not the present. Get your nose out of what's going on right now and quit telling me where I need to invest.
Well, that's one philosophy. But, people that lost money in the last few downturns.
Yeah.
You know, the financial advisor said that it's the long run. You're looking at the long run, but it took them 12 years to get back to where they were. You know, if you had been set up in a different way, you don't have that issue.
Wow. You've got to come back to this show anytime in the future. I love your knowledge and I love where your heart is.
Well, thank you. Actually, I would love for you to come to our Thursday night webinar yourself so you can hear firsthand some of the stuff that we talk about.
That's awesome.
I will say that my website is in the process of being finished, being set up. We're getting it all redone. So it might be a couple days before everything's set up out there, but you definitely can go out there and poke around.
I love it. I love it. Well, please come back anytime. The door is always going to be open for you.
Well, I appreciate that. And again, Heidi Drummond, alternativewealthstrategies.com. I would love to help you and everyone else, every one of your listeners.
You be brilliant today, okay, Heidi?
Thank you. You too.
Hello?
Is this Ricardo?
Yes.
Hey, this is Errol Collins. How are you doing today, sir?
Arrow, great to speak to you. I'm doing great. How about you?
Well, I'm very excited to talk with you as well because, I mean, we need leaders in this country that are willing to teach people how to take that step out of that box and start growing a product. And you have got something here with Crash Course that just opens up so many imaginations.
Yes. Yeah, that's what I did. That Crash Course tells the whole story of this company that I started. Following an idea and a vision, but that didn't go as I hoped it would go. I'm not sure how much you want me to deep down there.
I'll tell you what I love about the book, and this is what listeners need to understand, is that you are very transparent and very truth-filled when it comes to the struggles. It didn't just happen overnight, that you had perseverance, you had passion, you had loyalty. You stood there and you took it all in.
Yes, I think what happens when we have a company and we start full of optimism, and we have some setbacks, some challenges that we overcome with more optimism and more original thinking, being more creative. But at some point, when you spend 1, 2, 3 years and you're not getting the traction that you expected because of so many circumstances that you didn't even consider, then that's when it affects us as people, and I feel like we lose this part of the humanity aspect to entrepreneurship. This is something that's not very much talked about. If I may, I'll share that there's lots of books about startups. They will tell you about the technical aspects about how to build a company, but they don't talk about the person that is actually building the company.
You're so right about that. And I've always heard that story about the 2 years. You've got to give it the 2 years, the dedication and the loyalty. And then from there, you got to start making bigger decisions because you want everything to work out.
Yes, you want everything to work out. And more often than not, as statistics says, 90% of startups don't pass a couple of years. So that means that all these founders have expectations that did not materialize. So what happens when things don't go your way? I think you need to find a balance between committing to your vision and pulling from the most commonly assumed resources in a founder, which are grit, conviction, determination, sticking to it. But at the same time, you need to be developing some sensitivity and awareness to see what is the market telling you.
That's a very interesting point right there. What is the market telling you? Especially when it seems that nowadays we want brand new every day. And so when you have a product that is starting to sell, how do you keep it fresh and keep that market activated and really interactive with what you're doing?
Yes, so that's one thing. How do you keep that traction? But at the same time, there's so much noise out there.
Yes.
I had a statistic that I don't even know if it's true. I haven't checked it, but it wouldn't surprise me that every year, more products come to market than products are already in the market, which is just incredible. Right now, we live in this world in which lots of people, lots of creators, lots of entrepreneurs. They have an idea and they want to put it out there in the world, and it's very complicated. And not always the best product wins. As one friend told me, nobody, even though you have the best product, nobody's going to buy it if they don't know about it. And that was my challenge.
So that, but see, the one thing that I'm learning from this book, Crash Course, is that you played this like a game of chess. First of all, you had to know the market. You located the customer, the distributor, the investors. I mean, you set up your game, and all of a sudden you started moving your players, and that's how you win.
Yes, that's how you win. But that's exactly. I guess that's how you win. You need to again understand what your product, your customer, and develop. If you're going to scale something, it needs to be a business model that works. I mean, how does this company make money? And we developed, let's say, a small, medium scale for logistics without even understanding exactly how we were going to make money. Yeah. And that was one of the mistakes that I made. I went too much in for an idea when it was just an idea, instead of having validated that idea. And I'm sure that having more capital from the beginning would have made the path so much easier. But not only I was a first-time entrepreneur, but something that I also remind people is that lots of us are first-generation entrepreneurs. Yeah. The same way that we ask about first generation of immigrants here, or first generation of students who graduated from college, there's also a first generation of entrepreneurs in our families that we pretty much need to figure out everything from scratch, and that makes it so much harder.
When it comes to that customer, how did you get your research? Because there are many times that do we trust the research? Is it good research? Did it really? Because in radio, what we do, when we go on there and we do a break, we have to envision who it is that is receiving what it is that we're delivering. And that is, who is she? How many kids does she have? What car does she drive? And you break it down with everything that you're doing. And I'm sure you went through the same exact thing.
Yeah, so there's two parts to that. I went to a little bit of that, but at the same time, because I didn't think that research was going to be so conclusive, in a way, I disregarded it because I had so much energy and willingness to see my idea in the world that even though the research would have told me that the product wasn't needed or valued, I would still have wanted to see that for myself. So, which has been a very different story. So again, I wanted to make this idea happen, and I'll share. We did toys in the shape of countries for kids to learn about the world from the point of view of play and education. And we had a bigger vision to connect the kids of the world through an app, perhaps a theme park, movies, all the jazz. And I believed in it so much that I think no amount of research would have convinced me not to go all in with that. However, and this is something that one of the things that I've learned that I think it's very different from what I'm doing now. So with this book, ironically, in this book in which I share the story of my startup that didn't work and what I learned, and there's some deeper lessons about the humanity and the person of the founder. But ironically, now that I wrote this book, I knew exactly who I was writing it for. And it was for the founder. It was to the person that I was 10 years ago, trying so hard to make my company succeed, and then confronting all these challenges that I didn't see coming. So again, in this case, I am very clear who the ideal leader would be: a founder, a creator, a business owner, who is putting everything on the line, and then it's just overcoming one challenge after the other. And that usually has an emotional impact when things don't go your way. I will share, and I'm not sure how deep we have time to go, but when we have expectations and they're not met, these end up over developing emotions of frustration, regret, confusion. We question ourselves, and the last place that we look for clarity or understanding is ourselves, and we treat ourselves like a black box. We just try to go harder and bigger and quicker, instead of thinking, well, hold on, what's happening within me? Because maybe if I was a little bit more clear, a little bit lighter, a little bit softer with myself, then I wouldn't be adding so much stress to this project that I'm trying so hard to make happen.
Being that founder and that creator, one thing I've learned about business is you've got to surround yourself with a great team that you trust. How long did it take for you to bring those players into that game so that you knew that you were headed in the right direction? Yeah,
so this is where I think the ideal world that you're describing meets reality. I think if you have money and if you're lucky to know these people, I think that's what you're picturing is the ideal scenario. I started with a friend who shared my vision, but he was working full time. And then my budget was extremely limited because it was my savings. So it was a struggle of finding people who would want to work with me because they love what we were doing. Some of them did it mostly pro bono. We found some people online. So I wouldn't say that I was able to put the most talented team that it was out there, but I think it was the best that we could do with the resources that we had.
Did you run into a lot of walls when you said that I have this product that I want to take around the entire world? Because there had to have been some people that said, Ricardo, come on, that's a pretty big thing. But yet you have that fire. You've got that drive to make things happen.
Correct. So I did have that. Exactly. I had that drive. And and that's, but sometimes I guess it's not enough because, or maybe it is. So there's this drive, but at the same time, I think we live in a very ambiguous world, and very often I will get extremely positive feedback. And I can share a story. This is what happened on the very exact same day. I think it was 4 years into the company. Somebody in South by Southwest, I used to live in Austin. That's where the story happens in the book. But someone recognizes me in the audience, and they called me by the name of my company, and they said, "Plushky? Yeah, that's not me, but that was my company." And they said, "Yes." So they recognized me, and they told me, since we bought our kid beer toys, they had been going to bed 6 months with them, and they just can't separate themselves from their toys. They really love your toys. So that happened one morning, and the very same day, I got an email from a potential investor telling me, what you're doing is a total waste of time and money.
Ooh.
Yeah, so again, it's not that I think what makes entrepreneurship hard, it's not that nobody wants what you do, or that everybody, I think it's very unusual that everybody would understand what you're doing and want it from the beginning. But it's like so many mixed messages, so much ambiguity, this ideal world, if I try one more thing, if I do one more sale, if I get connected to the right person. So we always end up living in a fantasy world, hoping for a better day. And there's so long that we can live in an illusion, I feel.
Yeah, because I can totally relate with you on that, because so many times when you have that one good day, you say, okay, I just had it. And then you want another one. But the next 4 or 5 days are not so good, but you still have that stamina to keep growing forward. But we start living off those one day onlys. And how do you get it to where it's now 1 week, 1 month? Now we've got a successful year.
Yes. So I don't know, because you have one good day, like you're saying, and then you start again, and you still have the stamina. But sometimes you just don't know what the best course of action is. So let's say your strategy is not working. So what you're doing is not working. Do you question your strategy? Let's say maybe you're facing the wrong client, or maybe you just need to double commit to execution. And at some point, I think I became so confused that it wasn't a problem of stamina. It was a problem of clarity. I wasn't even sure exactly what was the best thing for me to do the following day.
And yet the book spells it out. I mean, and that's one of the things. I mean, and I'll bet you when you went in there as the author of this book, you were also the student, and you learned from your experiences, because there's so much going on inside this book that people need to go in there with a yellow highlighter and jot down their favorite parts so they too can activate it.
Well, I very agree, and I will share something even more ironic with you. I even feel like I have to read my own book these days.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, because now I just published this book almost a month ago, and I will be very frank. The reviews that I'm getting from the founders that have read it, they're outstanding. I think they really can tell that it's a story of honesty. But at the same time, I wish the promotion was going a little bit quicker. Yeah. So I guess we all have this desire to go faster, and sometimes when these desires or expectations are not met, I feel like, what else can I be doing? And I feel like I need to read my own book to understand myself a little bit better. Yes. Yeah.
But when you're messing around with toys and getting children to love your toys, the thing is, though, is that Toys R Us now out of business. You've got Amazon that is taking over, and you don't get to put my hands on it. So it's like, how do you take your toys and put it in our household if all of these other people are just going, well, we got to do the best we can do, Ricardo. Where do you want to plant them?
Yeah, I wish I had the answer, because, and then what I feel like, it's not enough to just even put because we were able to put our toys on Amazon and we put them in a couple of stores, but then that's the initial step. Then we need a final, let's say, customer kid, parent to buy them. Yep. And then what I learned was that kids, more often than not, they want toys that either they see on TV or that their friends have, right? So it's not enough sometimes to overcome this first hurdle to be in the store. Then it needs to call attention in some way. And when there's no marketing, people don't understand the brand. I guess people want to choose always something that they know about. So it was hard, this marketing problem. That's what I wasn't able to figure out, and ultimately it costed our company.
I just have a feeling that if you walk onto an airplane right now, you're going to start seeing people, as those businessmen, reading your book as they wait for their flights to take off, because this is one of those books where businessmen are going to pick it up and they're going to have that time to read it and study it.
Yeah, a friend today, I have lots of friends that are entrepreneurs, and I'm really surprised, grateful, and I get emotional now after I share this. Out of the blue, I get screenshots telling me, I love this paragraph, because they relate to the purity of the story. And something that really, really surprised me is that even successful founders, they relate as much, because even though they have ended up being successful, the amount of challenges that they had to overcome, it's just incredible. So I think this is a story for every founder.
Wow. Where can people go to find out more about you and to really give you lots of love, especially get their hands on these toys so that they can, help your journey grow forward? Yeah,
so Amazon.com, I think that's the easiest way to find the book. Crash Course, Ricardo Jimenez. It's also in Barnes & Nobles, and even in some physical stores, which I'm not sure where in the country they are, but sometimes I've gotten pictures from the book in the physical store. But yeah, Barnes & Noble, Simon & Schuster, and like I said, Amazon. And of course, I love to get your love in our website. There's links to my LinkedIn, to my Instagram, and my website is Ricardo. I won't spell that. I'm going to assume that most people will understand how to spell it. But Ricardo GimenezH.com. RicardoJimenezH.com.
You got to come back to this show anytime, Ricardo. The door is always going to be open for you. When you got a new product, let's talk about it. Let's break it down. Let's get people to talk about it as well. If we can talk about it, they're going to want it.
Okay, well, let's do this. Let's talk in a few months. I'd love to share progress, see how my entrepreneurial startup story now with my book is going. So let's do this.
Absolutely. Well, you be brilliant today, okay, sir?
Thank you very much. You too.